Alright, good morning YouTube. Probably even TikTok. Probably even Instagram. We'll see. Um, this tier list right here, and I know off the bat you're probably like, what am I looking at? This tier list is not about what operators are necessarily better than each other, okay? This tier list is more about self-sufficiency, meaning that in a ranked okay, let's also make that clear. In a ranked setting, all right, there's also going to be a comp one, all right, so we're going to rework this at some point. In a ranked setting, what operators would you most likely want to choose over the others when it comes to being self-sufficient and not having to rely on another player's help. So basically, like solo queue, if you will. But even when you're with a team, sometimes people don't chemistry, like they don't chem well. So like, what can you do to always have an impact on the round, regardless of other people's input towards your strategy? Starting with Maverick for obvious reasons. In this day and age, we got tuber out tricking, you got bandit tricking, somewhat K tricking. Um, so when it comes to the wall, I think we could agree that Maverick is like the king of hard breach here. He doesn't need anyone for that at all. All right, we're gonna keep these short and brief, so that way this isn't like an hour video. Jackal, sure, yes, he got nerfed. He's a shell of his former self. But the point I'm making here is that when Jackal goes like this, in case you don't know what that is, that's him turning on his goggles. Um, he can see everything and anything around him, minus Cav. And when it comes to roam clearing, you don't need someone to drone you in. You could just walk around la di da di da and do your thing. Okay, so that's obvious why Jackal, in my strong opinion, is S tier when it comes to self sufficiency. You know, aka S. I don't know, I just made that up right now. Dokkaebi, for obvious reasons, minus a mute jammer, which in all reality, let's be for real, in ranked, people aren't roaming with mute jammers. All four of them are in sight, like secure area. Okay, so when it comes to roam clearing her actual job, you're gonna get maximum efficiency from just pushing a button. And now everybody that's not in sight next to a mute jammer is ring 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 ring. So come on, let's be for real. Twitch and Brava, yes, you might argue, oh, there's mute jammers, there's Mozzie Pass, there's people, they're just gonna shoot it. Yeah, no. So what you want to do with Twitch and Brava, right? There's always little um, proxies and Elamines and Fenriers and even sometimes bulletproof cams that are just sticking out past the area in which the effect of the Mujammers or Mazis are controlling, or even past the area in which some people are standing. And because of the range of Twitch, for example, you can snipe default cams, any type of little non-bulletproof device from like miles away. So when it comes to self-sufficiency in the sense that another point I want to make, sorry, as a little side note, these operators that are displayed here are operators that you can get use from your utility before you get use from your gun. So don't look at any of this tier list like, oh, but this person's gun is better. Oh, I get more kills with this person. We're talking about the like the foreplay before the gunfights happen. Okay, so Twitch and Brava, say you did nothing, you're dropping like 0 and 8. But by you taking out all the utility, or at least the majority of it, prior to you entering the building, or even leaving spawn to get spawn peaked, you can say confidently, hey, listen, man, I took out like all the bandits. I took out the Cades, arguably some mute jammers. I took out the proxies that were on the white stairs of you walking up before you walk up. Um, you know, I took out all the default cams inside the building, and that might not sound like a lot. Default cams, like, oh, you just took out some default cams. I could have did that. But what goes over everybody's head is that default cams are a sound cue, let alone a visual cue when you take them out. Like if you're traversing through the map and you got to go out of your way to make sure you shoot that camera before one of the dead people get on it, like the enemy dead people get on it, you're telling the next guy that's alive, oh shit, he's coming. Because they hear you shoot it. Even if it's a suppressor, even if you have a suppressor. And I know in the comments right now you guys are about to say, oh, just put on a suppressor. They hear the little bink of like the glass breaking. Like, that was a terrible sound. But bink! you know? And they're gonna be like, oh, he's coming down the stairs. I know exactly what camera he shot, and I know exactly where he possibly shot it from. So therefore, you're giving them hindsight of where you're even coming and what your plan is before you even do it. So that's why Twitch and Bravo are important characters when it comes to clearing shit. So that way, when you go into the building, it's now for sure at least a 50-50 gunfight. Whereas prior, had someone been yellow pinging you on these cameras, maybe red pinging, had someone been, there's some a hidden proxy that you didn't notice, and as you're walking up the stairs, sneaking, tiptoeing, beep 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 beep, it now is no longer a 50-50 gunfight because one, you just alerted the guy that's ahead of you, and two, you either have two options. You're less confident in your ability to get this kill now because you feel like you have given away your position, or two, you're gonna look down at it for a second, shoot it, you look back and you go, oh, oops, I didn't think you were gonna swing that. So that's why Twitch and Bravo are here, and I went a little bit in depth with them because I feel like people are gonna definitely judge why these guys are up here and like maybe not down here, for example. Oh shit, I fucked up. Next is Grim and Capitao. I put them both under the same category because they have projectile-based utility, in the sense that if Grim shoots his device in an area and Capitao shoots his device in an area, it has an immediate effect. For example, the burn on Capitao and the bees on Grim. You don't need nobody to help you, like at all. Like, sure, there might be some Jaeger devices, Wamais, or Gates. How many damn Grims does this guy have? Let's be for real. I think it's like five. You know what I'm saying? So, sure, burn, and then use your utility. Capiteo, if there's Jaeger devices or Wamais, waste the smokes, even a Gon 6. He has the third option as a Gon, well, secondary option as a Gon 6. You could use that to burn. In most cases, you're doing the opposite. You're using the smokes to burn the ADSs first, and then the Gon 6 to probably like break the deployable shield or whatever, is in the area. And if a guy's hiding in a corner, you burn him, you roast him, and he's gonna start moving. So as a sufficient self solo queue player, you'll find just off of what we explained already that these players don't need nobody else to do what they have to do. Cali, I know this is a weird one for some. This might be a little biased because recently I've been indulging in Cali myself. Um, Cali, sure, she takes the bandits off the walls, the Cade off the wall, but looking a little further past that, her one-shot capability is what everybody loves to break barricades with and windows, doors, whatever. But I might argue that instead of breaking the windows off of that one shot, use her Lancer device, which is her ability, to be at the bottom or top, or sometimes far left, far right of the barricade, depending on the information you gather with your drone. Examples: gym bedroom in clubhouse. People put frost mats at the bottom of the windows, if not lesion mines, right? So by putting a Lancer device at the bottom, mind you, from spawn you could do this. At the bottom of the windows, you just broke all the frost mats without having to like do anything else. You just boop, 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 and all the frost mats are gone. I'll give you another example. Canal, basement. Trench, where people walk down the trench stairs into the basement and they come through the little concrete stairs, whatever. People like to put Malusis, Goyos, proxies, Fenriers, Capcan traps, all these things on barricades, as well as frost mats on the other side if you go to scuba side. And if you, by just simply shooting a Kali device at it, you break everything in that area. Whereas somebody else with grenades would have to, and it might even get Jaeger device. It might get Wamide or Jaegered or even a Rooney gated by you just throwing a grenade and going, oh, I could do this right here. No, you can't. Kali doesn't have any of those issues. She can break everything and anything in an area without any other device intercepting it. So, Kali, in my opinion, would be S tier. Aside from it being literally a one-shot weapon, because that's kind of a crutch. Her gadget is so overlooked in terms of its potential, and that's quite literally why. For obvious reasons, recruit. He doesn't need the Thatcher Thermite combo or Thatcher Ace combo to get a wall. He is all of the above. And in the event that you do already have a Thatcher and Ace doing their job, you could go, okay, I'm not a hard breach team anymore. I'm just gonna bring flashes and grenades, which most people do if you're doing that. And when it comes to Jaeger devices, Wamais, whatever, you can now throw your Jaeger. I mean, sorry, throw your flashes at the Jaegers, burn your own utility, and then throw grenades at whatever you desire to throw your grenades at. Deployable shields, corners, whatever. Ram, the queen of soft destruction, she can do most of her tasks from outside the building. An example, canal outside of radio window, if they're basement, you throw one to the left of the window, throw one to the right of the window, and you just cleared the entirety of scuba and a little bit of the objective. Another example, cafe, Cafe Dostoevsky. I butchered the fuck out of that. Cafe, you put it outside of mining window, outside of red window, and arguably outside of fireplace window, which if you throw it left or right, that's like freezer area. And you just did your job without having to even enter the building. You didn't have to roam clear. You didn't have to map clear. Nothing. You just and now you're just a gun. You just go. Now you could actually start playing the game because you did your job. And if you die, at least you could say you played vertical, right? Ace, Habana, arguably the second best heart breachers alongside Maverick. If Maverick didn't exist, these guys would be S tier. The queen of hatches and the king of walls. We'll get to Thermite in a second. But these people rely on others to get their task done. If there's Cade on the hatches, you need someone like him to come along and EMP it, or Thatcher. If there's, bandit tricking, well, not really bandit tricking, but he counters bandit. If there's Tuberal tricking, Cade tricking, whatever, Ace is gonna need someone else to come along to do his job. Um, but they're still up there. Let's not get it too twisted. Deimos, I know that some people might argue that Deimos is more efficient than Jackal nowadays, but realistically he's not. So and the reason why is because Deimos, even if aside from the fact that you literally need to ping people in order to understand, in order to get your ability to turn on. If you don't ping anybody, especially the main roamer, which he most likely is hiding somewhere, you can't track him. And in the event that you do track him and have everybody pinged, right, in a perfect scenario, Deimos still doesn't get max efficiency from just tracking someone. He has to go and like ask his teammates, "Hey, look, I'm gonna track that guy that's been in the basement XYZ amount of times and he keeps flanking us, but one of you need to hold his cutoff for when he runs away from me." Dokubi doesn't need to ask her teammates that. Jackal doesn't need to ask his teammates that. Why? Because when they go to roam clear with their abilities, they're not giving away their own position where like Deimos does. Deimos quite literally it's a 50-50 trade. I see you, you see me. Sure, it's not as accurate as how I can see you versus how you see me, but you still see me coming. Jackal, it takes a little bit of smarts to know where you left your footprints to be like, oh, I think I know where he is. You know what I mean? Most people aren't thinking like that, especially when they don't know they're going against a Jackal. Dokubi, you don't know where the fuck she made a call from, but you know damn well she's coming when you hear ring ring. So it's like Deimos is kind of a lesser roam clearer in that sense. Um, for obvious reasons, Buck is less than Ram, but he also is more than Ram because while she's the queen of like top down, he's the king of looking up and boom, 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 and also looking down as well. But the problem with Buck is that you need someone like Nomad or Gridlock to cut off your flanks. And without your flanks being covered, you're kind of just mindlessly breaking the floor, not expecting someone to come punish you for what you're doing, let alone the fact that you still got to look up at the holes you made. So it's like you got to look up at the holes, then you got to look at your flank, then you got to look at the way you came from, which I guess would be your flank. So I'll reiterate, you look at the holes in the wall, you look at your flank, and then you still got to look ahead of you for the possible, I guess another flank. I don't know. But you get what I'm saying. Like, there's more to the map this way, and there's the way you came, and then there's the way you're looking, or the way you're looking. You know? Let's be for real. Nomad and Gridlock, they're self sufficient, yes. But a simple impact, like a literal impact grenade, kind of wipes out their whole little facade of, like, safety. Um, I can air jab, for example, Oregon. Let's say we're doing an attic push, like with Maverick, for example. I can go and air jab his double door. I can air jab his stairs. I can air jab this, that, whatever. If someone decided that to catch me off guard, they hear me dumping my mag or shooting another person, and they go, and then they swing, like You know what I mean? Like it's like they can still get me. Like that's sense of security is kind of gone. And in more higher lobbies, what people do is they inch their way up until they see it, and then once they see the little red light, they wait a second. They wait to hear you shoot your gun, so that way you don't hear them shoot theirs. And when you start shooting your gun, they go boop. They shoot it, and then they start moving up. And when they move up, you're gonna be like, wait a minute, I had an air jab on that, and then boom, the whole facade of what we just talked about. Gridlock, you could literally walk through her tracks. You're gonna eat like 10, 15 damage maybe because they do like 5 damage per tick, I think, or some shit. Sure, you're gonna take like 15, 20 damage. We'll just say 25, just cuz, right? That's not really like whatever. We'll leave it at that. They're great ops. I'm not taking it away from them. They're great ops, but we're talking about self-sufficiency here. Talking about like how well can you just play certain ops to where you don't gotta worry about like nothing else. Don't mind the dog. Zofia, she's like Ash 2.0, which as you can see, Ash is kind of at the bottom. We'll get to that later. But the difference with Ash versus Zofia is that Zofia has two stuns. Zofia with those two stuns can burn her own ADSs, burn her own Wamais, burn her own Arunis, and with the impacts, much like Ash, she then can break whatever it is she needs to break. In the event that there's a clash, she kinda, yes, she counters clash by moving her shield to the side, but you kinda need a teammate to shoot the clash while you're doing that. You can't stun, put away your shit, and then take out your gun. By the time you do that, Clash's shield is already back in her face. So you kinda gotta like tell people, hey, ready? 1, 2, 3, let's do this. So that Zofia is kind of like second to best when it comes to that. For obvious reasons, Blackbeard, Blitz, Montaigne are up here on the chart. Um, but the problem with them being self-sufficient and not being S tier is that they're good for 1v1 engagements, if not crowd control in the event that you also have teammates following up on you. An example of this would be Nighthaven Labs, the Rafters. Um, Hopping in the Raptors window as a Blackbeard or Blitz, you might get one. You might, hopping in and just pew pew pew. But what if there's two people playing warehouse, bottom and top? One's on the bottom of your stairs, one's at the top of your stairs. Are you still gonna just jump in and start shooting, guns blazing, and hope that you get one? Probably not. So that's why you kind of still need people around you to help you as a shield. Especially as a Montaigne. Like Montaigne's probably like the weaker one when it comes to 1v1s, because he has to keep the armadillo up. The minute you drop your armadillo, you're not fancy enough to have a flash. You're not fancy enough to have a long dash like Blackbeard does. Um, and so like when it comes to solo queue play in ranked, you can't just do your own thing all the time with these people. Moving on to the B tier, Thermite, the risk versus reward on the fact that yes, the reward is that it's a way bigger hole than any of these guys could ever make, right? But it's also the easiest person to destroy slash trick on the wall, aka bandit, aka impact tricking, because what people do in a higher level, both comp and ranked. I know this is a ranked tier list, but um, they make one side of the wall soft, if not have like a hole above or a hole below, and they'll impact trick your thermite every time. And because you only get two, and they only have two impacts, you're fully countered. If you try to impact trick Ace, he has a third one. If you try to impact trick Habana, she usually picks up on that after the first time you did it, and then she'll start using 2 pellets instead of 6 or 4. So she has infinite amount, well not infinite, but like more than the amount of impacts you'll ever have. Unless now you bring another person with impacts, and that's 4 impacts. Um, Yana, much like Twitch and Brava, have drones, but in the sense of clones. And with the iteration of the barbed wire buff, where it does damage now, Yana's now countered by barbed wire, which once wasn't a thing. And with the iteration of the Mew Jammers being buffed, before a Mew Jammer used to work like this, where the jammer, this is the jammer, right? I don't know if you can see my phone. This is the jammer, and the dome was this way. The dome was like this. But now, after a couple years ago, the dome is a full circle. So if you're in a room, if this is second floor and this is like first floor, Yana walking across the first floor can be intercepted by the mute jammer that's on the second floor. And not every building is that close quarters, but for example, Oregon. Um, Oregon, say there's a jammer on the top of White Stairs and you're coming up from Freezer, your Yana device will be disabled because her head touched the jammer above her. So like, yeah, that kind of brings her down a bit. But on the bright side, she could use her clone like 22 times if you don't get it shot or destroyed. So like, if you're working with somebody and you say, "Hey, wait, let me drone for you," and you drone ahead of them with the clone, you could technically use it a few more times than a regular drone. But we're gonna put her beats here because you're droning other people, you're not droning yourself. That's never efficient. Rora, really good operator, but she's definitely the lesser version of Nomad and Gridlock. Let's be for real. She doesn't necessarily do anything but block line of sight, whereas these people kind of punish you one way or another. This one punishes you physically if you get hit by the attack by the air jab, where it makes you defenseless and you can kill them. This one, regardless of you breaking them or not, well, if you break them, you won't take damage. But if you try to run through them, which is very easy, you at least still take damage. And if you were to, let's say, someone else gets the kill later on that person, you're at least getting the assist. You get an assist on that because you did damage. Rora is a strategy-based character where she kind of feeds off of other teammates um, being around you. So while you're cutting off, let's say, bakery, small bakery and cafe, for a full bakery push, you see all the time people cut off the double door, then they're able to hop in the window, and then they can start fighting the bakery guy. But you're not doing that by yourself. It's you relying on your teammates coming in through the double door of the actual bakery while you're cutting off the double door of small bakery. Because if you were to try to do all that by yourself, one, you don't have enough doors to cover for it to be like, oh, you're just isolating a one, and two, these are easily impactable, more easily impactable than, let's say, Nomad or I guess Gridlock, um, where it's like a one-time thing, and then you also have a Rooney that could punch it and it's gone. So it's like there's too many counters for her, in my opinion, for a solo queue, where she's just not a solo player. Like you don't want to play her as by yourself in most cases. Um, Sledge, a lesser version of Buck. Um, yeah, he has grenades, he has pocket EMPs, he has a hammer that could break barbed wire and bulletproof devices. But when you sledge the floor in this day and age, people that are competent with a C4 from below can kind of read your movements very easily, and they're gonna punish you for it. So that's why I put him under the B tier. Osa here, much like pretty much every other operator we've been discussing as we get lower, she needs to rely on her teammates to either defend her or to play her second shield. An example of this would be Bank, um, or even Coastline, but we'll do Bank first. Say you're doing a basement push for server, right? And you're walking in, you're holding your shield, you're holding your shield. While you're holding your shield, you're defenseless. You're not like these guys that in an instant you could just go and shoot and help yourself or even tackle. You can't even tackle with her shield. So you're literally relying on the fact that you're walking in and there's a guy behind you, like holding your bag, like with a gun. And then when you do put your shield down and it extends, you have two options. You could sit there and bait, or you could try to plant. And when you plant, you're very like vulnerable. They could impact your shield, C4 your shield. They could yeah, just kill you basically because you're kind of just there. But when you put your second shield down alongside your first shield that you're going to be using, your teammate can sit there and hold that with you. And that arguably is where the solo aspect is kind of gone because she literally thrives off of putting both down and having both used. So that way, in the event that the first one breaks because of impact, tricking, C4, whatever, the guy on the other shield can either hopefully shoot the C4 out the air or shoot whoever pushes you, or if there's an impact, well, at least we got a second one, you know? So that's why she's kind of down here. But don't get me wrong, this tier list, in terms of like the comp setting, is like flipped. upside down because of the value you get when in a coordinated setting. But for now, this is ranked. This is solo queue. Finka, there's not much to Finka. I mean, you push a button and you're the medic of the team. She's the only medic in the game, at least on attack. Um, it's just Finka. You got a down teammate across the map. I got you, buddy. Uh, your your shields are a little running low on health because they've been running at people the whole game. I got you, buddy. But in terms of actual transactional value, you don't get grenades. Sure, but like let's be for real. Fuse and Glass, I'll put them both like kind of together here. It kind of goes back to what we said about Buck, where like yeah, you're worried about this, you're worried about that, but you're not worried about this or that. Um, Fuse kind of relies on Nomad and Gridlock or Aurora to do their jobs in order for him to comfortably like make himself vulnerable on the floor or walls while he needs to fuse. And in most cases, people hear you putting it down, and when the first stick comes through, they're just gonna shoot it. You'll get one charge off. You'll get one explosive coming through that at best. And if only one explosive is coming through that, the Jaeger caught it, the Wamai caught it, or nobody's in the area for it to be any effect because they're just gonna run away from it because they hear you. So in terms of self-sufficiency, he kind of relies on, let's say, a combination of Ying and Lion, right? Say you Ying out the site first. Now they're all blind, they're panicking, and then you Lion scan as she's Yinging, right? So now you see where they are physically. When that happens, then you can fuse more appropriately to get a more accurate decision on where to fuse, and then that would henceforth bring you a kill because these people are blind and you're seeing where they are blind so that you go, oh, you're sitting right here, you think it's safe? Not no more. That's situational. Glaz, you got people like Warden, you got people that are just competent enough to not peek you when you throw your smokes. um so therefore, like, Glaz doesn't really bring much to the table other than like a small like, don't peek me. You know what I'm saying? Like he brings a little threat, but like you only get two of those, two smokes. And in most cases, after people hear your DMR, like shoot once, like if you shoot a default cam outside or some shit, or if you shoot the barricade open, they're gonna be like, oh, it's a Glaz. Oh look, he smoked it. Oh look, I'm not gonna peek it. Like, you don't bring much to the table other than a little fear for about 10 seconds in total. Um, maybe 20. The next is Thatcher. Too many people do what Thatcher does for where he's not even important anymore. Half of these operators that we described have pocket EMPs like Gridlock, Recruit, Sledge, which bringing pocket EMPs is kind of silly on him, but he has them. Um, Montaigne, the list goes on. So Thatcher kind of like is a niche op at the moment, which is why he's due for a rework, which has been leaked recently. I don't know if any of you have seen that. Um, and yeah, so Thatcher's just like, you throw an EMP, mind you, you're throwing an EMP in the event that someone like this is on the board. So are you really self-sufficient, or are you relying on someone else to pick a certain op for you to get value off of this character? Because unless you're a communication person and like you like talking in game, or hopefully they respond to you, you're not gonna go Thatcher and go like, hey, can I get an ace? Like, that's not, you're not self-sufficient anymore. You're relying on someone else going, yeah, I got you, bro. Give me a second. Like, you don't want to do that. Not saying that's a bad thing, but we're just talking about solo queue here. Lion, like I said, if you don't have Ying or Fuse or maybe even a shield operator helping you get an effect out of your Lion scan, it's nothing more than Simon Says stand still. Simon Says stand still, and now everybody's just standing still. If you're not flashing them out, fusing them, or making them run away from these people, he gets no value. Arguably, he's a D tier, but I'm not gonna do that to him. He's all right. You know what I'm saying? He's up there. Um, but he's cool. Line is a cool operator. I'm not gonna lie. With mixed, you know what? I kind of retract that statement. He has grenades. So like in a way, yes, you still could get value out of him. Like you throw a grenade somewhere. Well, you lion scan first, throw a grenade at them. Sure, they'll move. But grenades, let's be for real, are subject to change on operators. So I kind of don't want to include that with him. Because at any point they could just take it away from him like they did with the Gaunt 6, which, in my opinion, was the best thing to give Lion. Was the Gaunt 6. It was like the coolest thing. You pop a Lion scan, doot doot doot, bink. You would just Gaunt 6, run in, start gutting. But yeah, Flores, he's just he's too niche of an operator. Where at like a decently high level, even low level, there's too many obstacles to get through to get like maximum efficiency out of him. You'll probably get like two good drones off, and that's because they weren't aware that you were him at first. But then the minute that they hear one of them blow up or two of them go off, they're just gonna be staring at the floor, and those slow ass drones are just gonna get shot. So, for example, Oregon basement, elbow is the term. Where people put like Warden shield or whoever shield down, and then they put Jaeger devices and mute jammers or whatever. You don't. You'll probably get like the immediate double door. You'll probably get through the door and break whatever's on the surface level past that door. But then the minute they hear that first explosion go off, they're gonna just be staring at you trying to go past that door now. So it's like he's kind of niche when it comes to solo. Cause after your drones, what are you? You're a gun with flashes, and that's pretty much everybody else up here. So like, well, and then some, right? So it's like, what are you at this point? Um, you know, um, you're really not much else. Um, so it's like, damn. Ash, everybody's fan favorite. Ash is cool, but we're talking about utility here. We're not talking about guns. If it was guns, she'd be up there. I should probably make a gun tier list. I don't know. This has been going on for about 30 minutes now. I don't even know if half of you are still watching this. But anyways, Ash is cool, but she's the lesser version of Zofia. If there's anything to counter your Ash charges, Aruni Gates, Jaegers, Wamais, the default shit, you only get two. And in most cases, people put two Jaegers on a door, two Wamais on a door, um, maybe one Aruni Gate, and then a Jaeger device behind it. Shit like that. So it's like Ash, when it comes to utility, isn't the greatest. Sure, there's vertical gameplay. Fine, I'll give her that. You can go below like Buck and Ash from below, and you can go above and look down. But if that's the case, if that's your goal to play vertical, go Buck, go Ram. Like, how often do you really see Ash players going to be the vertical game player? Like, it's possible, they're capable, but are they really picking Ash for that? Let's be for real. Ying, the problem with Ying is much like the Shield dilemma, where she's good for 1v1 engagements, maybe 1v2 engagements, but when flashing most objectives or most areas, it's very highly situational. But in most scenarios where you're flashing something, there's more than one guy either in the distance or below you or whatever, because of the holes in the floor, whatever, that they punish you for trying to just walk in there and thinking that you could just walk in there. Because you're going to have this false sense of confidence of flashing. It rolls in there, it screams, and then they know what you're about to do. You're going to try to walk in. So they're going to already preemptively throw a C4, throw a smoke, start to chonking. Oh, she's flashing me, Can you peek her? Yeah. And like while you're worried about flashing this way, there's another guy looking at you this way. You feel me? So it's like, not to mention that you could also shoot them. You can shoot her Candelas. I don't know if you guys know that, whoever's watching this. So it kind of puts her on a lower bracket. But on the contrary, in a competitive setting, she is up there for sure, especially when you ban Warden. Um, but this isn't a competitive tier list. This is a ranked solo queue tier list. Um, IQ. IQ's a very good operator in terms of trying to find gaps around the map. And what that means for some of you that might not know is that gaps are basically what the defenders leave open for you. An example, let's say Oregon top floor or even basement. It really doesn't matter the objective, but we'll just say top floor. Um, you got attic push, you got big window, you got top main stairs going into trophy, and then you got master. And sure, I missed a few. There's games window, there's kids window, whatever. But those are more niche positions that you're not typically going to be jumping in from. Like nobody's jumping in games window, nobody's jumping in kids window. Mostly, you're typically trying to either walk up white stairs, walk up main stairs, hop in the big window maybe because it's a decent window to jump in. Take attic, whatever. And with her, you kind of go, okay, let me see what's in the area. And if you don't see, like, if you see all the Fenrirs and Malusis and Aruni gates are all on, like, let's say trophy side, master side, you go, all right, guys, you know what? It looks like they want us to push master side, and I see nothing over here on the attic side or the big window side, at least electronically. They might have Goyos, they might have shit that I can't see, like, Legion mines now, but for the most part, all their utilities over here. And that would enable you to relay that information to your team so that way they can go and rotate with you and take that appropriate push. I mean, yeah, you can push it yourself and push the gap, but yeah, I I could probably move her up on the tier list because in a way that's self-sufficiency, right? Because like you found your own gap and now you know where you want to push with the least amount of stuff because she only gets 2 grenades. So, I guess in that event you would be self-sufficient because now you know where the least amount of stuff to stop you from coming is. So you know what? Yeah, I'll put her there. I kind of misjudged. So I could put her there, I guess. Um, do I even go over the D tier? Nook got nerfed to the ground. They took away her fucking silent step feature. Gone. She was promised or at least leaked to be able to go through proximity alarms, LMIs, Capkins, and stuff because they're electronical, and that's the premise of her gadget. But that never came. So she's down here. Zero. My opinion about these zero cams is that they're just way too loud. They need to be more stealthy in the sense of like placement. I need to be able to shoot my camera somewhere and you don't hear me shooting it and it goes boing like why? Why would how are you a fucking this is like the main like Rainbow Six character in their game and like he's the most like inefficient in terms of intel gathering. You would have to use him on a map like Bank or Cafe where the map is so large and like sound is just propagated everywhere where if I shoot it somewhere you're all the way across the map and you don't even hear it and like sure now you get some value but in terms of shooting it through the floor and it coming up very loud in terms of you shooting it next to someone's door or like on the flank and they're there very loud uh not very efficient both solo or team based but he can somewhat be tactical. Amaru as a solo queue player, you would be considered the thrower if you go Amaru and you just rush in the building in 30 seconds. I'm a bit hypocritical with this because I go Amaru. However, I have routes. And this isn't a video about teaching you how to play Amaru, so therefore she would be at the bottom because you would have to learn routes on how to get in the building quickly and know where your drones are. It's we're not into that right now. Since he did get buffed, or she, it, whatever it is, we'll just say he got buffed because now Sense can't see through it. Neither can like Maestro cams or bulletproof cams in general. So yes, he's up there technically in the sense of like obscurity, but I would much rather go Ying with smokes any day than just Sense and hope that they don't shoot through it. Um, when it comes to solo queue play, Sense is too of a high IQ strategy player to in order to get a real effect out of this. So we're gonna wrap it up here now that we're hitting the 40-minute mark. Um, and if there's any comments or ideas that we would like to spin off of, or even questions as to why or how some of these people are in the tiers that they're in, feel free to let me know. Um, we're gonna wrap it up here and make the defender list now right after this. So appreciate your time. Appreciate if I taught you guys anything. Um, see you in the next video.